Reading from Sri Krishna Samhita by Bhaktivinode Thakur. And this is the conclusion. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Vaita Chandra, Jai Gaur Bhaktivinda. The main purport and necessity for writing this Sri Krishna Samhita have already been described in the introduction. We have covered all relevant topics in the verses of this Samhita, but we have not used the method that modern scholars use in considering those topics. Therefore, I fear that many people will reject Sri Krishna Samhita as an old-fashioned book. I am in a dilemma. If I would have used the modern process when I composed the verses, then the ancient scholars would have certainly disregarded the book. For this reason, I have composed the main book according to the ancient method, and I have written the introduction and conclusion according to the modern. In this way, I have tried to satisfy both classes of people. Therefore, I have been compelled to accept the fault of repetition. In this conclusion, I will briefly consider all topics. The swan-like Vaishnava Dharma is the soul's eternal constitutional duty. It is not created by any person or sect. In the course of time, we are gradually realizing the purity of these duties. Where is the doubt? The progress of clarity depends on the person, not the subject. The sun is always equal to everyone, but due to the perception of the observer, it appears hotter at midday. Similarly, pure constitutional duties are progressively understood as superior by progressively advanced people, though in truth, constitutional duties remain the same at all times. Now I will begin to discuss the science of these constitutional duties. The inaugurator of the swan-like Vaishnava faith, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has said, "Since people are all conditioned, we are compelled to consider their eternal duties in three different categories. Sambandha, soul's relationship with the Lord. Abhideya, the regulated activities for reviving that relationship. And Prayojana, the ultimate goal of life." According to the Lord's instructions, we will now separately discuss these three subjects. First, we will discuss Sambandha. One who is thoughtful should first examine oneself. From the existence of one's own self, the existence of other objects is ascertained. A thoughtful person may say, "If I do not exist, then nothing else exists, because without me, how is it possible to realize other things?" By the tendency to believe in oneself, a thoughtful person establishes his own existence and then observes the insignificance and dependence of the soul. As soon as one sees his own self, one immediately observes the support of the Supersoul. Feeling the existence of the Atma and Paramatma should be the first step in belief of oneself. When a thoughtful person looks at the material world, he can easily see three things: the Atma, the Paramatma, and the material world. Those who cannot realize the soul consider themselves dull matter. In their estimation, matter is eternal. They also come to the conclusion that all material elements produce consciousness through the process of evolution, and when they are separated from their natural state, then consciousness reverts to unconscious matter. Thoughtful persons conclude like this because they are more under the control of material propensities than spiritual propensities, and as such they are more inclined towards matter than knowledge. That is why their hope, faith, enthusiasm, consideration, and love are all material. It is unfortunate that the dealings of persons who are in samadhi cause pain to the hearts of such people. There is no possibility of reconciliation between their opinion and ours, because we are not ready to accept the method they follow to ascertain the absolute truth. They are under the grip of argument, and arguments are never able to establish the existence of the self. What is the use of putting a telescope to the ears? Can one see pictures through a microscope? How then can one see Vaikuntha through the instrument of argument? All subjects of this material world are under the jurisdiction of argument, but the soul cannot be seen by any method other than self-realization. If argument accepts the proper path, then one can quickly understand its incompetence in matters related with the soul. The soul is pure knowledge, and therefore it is self-illuminating and the illuminator of matter. But the propensity for argument born of matter can never illuminate the soul. Therefore, not being obliged to accept the materialistic conclusions of those who argue, we will consider and perceive the soul and the supersoul through the process of self-realization and with the temporary instrument of argument, which is situated between matter and spirit. We will enumerate the truths of this material world. We need to separately discuss the Atma Paramatma in material world. Shri Ramanujacharya has elaborately explained these three subjects as spiritual, material, and the Lord. In the discussion on Sambandha, we should consider and ascertain the relationship between these three. Acharya Kapila, the propounder of Sankhya philosophy, has enumerated 24 elements within the material world. If we want to discuss the material world, we have to take Kapila's 24 elements into account. Modern scholars who are expert in material sciences are painstakingly discovering the original elements' names, qualities, and characteristics through newly invented machines. In this way, they increase people's material knowledge. Their discoveries are especially respected because they're helpful in the progress of spiritual life. Yet, even though we respect their discoveries, that does not mean we have to disrespect Kapila's Sankhya philosophy. There may be 60, 65, or 70 original elements, but this does not disturb the Sankhya system of counting the gross elements like earth, water, and fire. Therefore, Kapila's discussions about the material world, consisting of the material elements, their qualities, the senses, the mind, intelligence, false ego, are not useless. Rather, the divisions of Sankhya appear more scientific. In the Bhagavad Gita, which is a compilation of Vedanta, the following elements are enumerated. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kamana buddha evacha ahankara iti yame bini prakritirastana. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated spirituality. I think we'll stop here now and take a little break.